Hare Krishna. I am very blessed to be here in Sydney, and actually I have no quality to be seated here and speak something in front of you, but by the order of my senior, I'll try to say something. So today's shlok is Canto 4, Chapter 24, and Slok 44. So I'll recite. Darshanam no dridukshanam Dehi bhagavata architam Rupam priyatamam swanam Sarvendriya gunanjanam. Anyone? Darshanam na dridikshanam Dehi bhagavata architam Rupam priyatamam swanam Sarvendriya gunanjanam Darshanam drikshanam Dehi bhagavata architam Rupam priyatamam swanam Sarvendriya gunanjanam Dehi bhagavata architam Rupam priyatanam swanam Sarvendriya gunanjanam. Hare Krishna. So I'll read the translation. My dear Lord, I wish to see you exactly in the form of your very dear devotees worship. You have many other forms, but I wish to see your form that is specially liked by the devotees. Please be merciful upon me and show me that form, for only that form worshipped by the devotees can perfectly satisfy all the demands of the senses. Purport by His Divine Grace, Avacharna Bindu Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the Shruti or Vedanta mantra, it is said that the supreme absolute truth is Sarva Kama, Sarva Gandha, Sarva Rasa, or in other words, He is known as Rasha Vaisa, the source of all relishable relationships, Rasha. We have various senses, the powers of seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, etc. And all the propensities of our senses can be satisfied when the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord. Rishikesha Rishikena Shivanam Bhakti Uchyate. Bhakti means engaging all the senses in the service of the master of the senses, Rishikesh. The material senses, however, cannot be engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, one has to become free from all the designations. Sarva upadhi vinirmuktam tat paratmena nirmalam. One has to become free from all the designation of false egotism and thus become purified. When we engage our senses in the service of the Lord, the desire of the inclinations of the senses can be perfectly fulfilled. Lord Shiva therefore wants to see Lord in the form which is inconceivable to Buddha philosophers or Buddhists. The impersonalists and the voidists also have to see the form of the Absolute. In Buddhist temples, there are forms of Lord Buddha in meditation, but these are not worshipped like the forms of the Lord in Vaishnava temples. Forms like Radha Krishna, Sri Ram, and Lakshmi Narayan. Amongst the different sampradayas, Vaishnava sects, either Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayan is worshipped. Lord Shiva wants to see the form perfectly, just as the devotees want to see it. The words Rupam Priyatamam Sonam are especially mentioned here, indicating the Lord Shiva wants to see the form which is very dear to the devotees. The word Swanam is especially significant because only the devotees are very, very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Gyanis, Yogis, and Karmis are not particularly dear, for the Karmis simply want to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their order supplier. The Gyanis want to see Him to become one with him, and the yogis wants to see him partially represented within their heart as Paramatma, but the bhaktas or the devotees want to see him in his complete perfection, as stated in Brahma Samhita, Venum Konvantam Aravinda Dalayakdaksham Baraha Astam Asitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamunya Vishesha Sobham Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajam. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept at playing on his flute, whose eyes are blooming like lotus petals, whose head is bedecked with peacock feathers, whose beauty is tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and whose unique loveliness charms millions of cupids. Thus, Lord Shiva is desired to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as described in this way. That is, he wants to see him as he appears to the Bhagavatas, the devotees. The conclusion is that Lord Shiva wants to see him in complete perfection and not the impersonalists or voidists. Although the Lord is the one in his various forms, Padvitam, Achyutam, Anandam, still his forms as the young angel or the gopis and companion of the cowherd boys, Kishore Murti is most perfect form. Thus, Vaishnavas accept the form of the Lord in his Vrindavana pastimes as the chief form. Thus ends the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, Narayanam namaskritam naranchaiva narottamam devim saraswati vesam tato jaya mudirayet nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatir uttam sloke bhaktir bhavati nashtaki Om Gyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshan Militang Jan Dashmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manoha Vishtam Sthapitang Jana Bhutale Sang Rupam Kadamayam Tadati Sapadantikam Bande Aham Shri Guru Shri Juto Padakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatang Sahagana Raghunatam Nitam Tam Sajibam Sadhaitang Sabadhutang Parijana Shahitang Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganalita Shri Vishakanitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanto Radha Kanto Namasate Tapto Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrisabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Bancha Kalpataru Vasho Kripachindevacha Paditahanang Pavne Vaishnave Namanama Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Shri Gaur Bhaktar Bindu Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Mukum Karate Bachalam Pangum Langhaiti Kritatki Patamohamad Shri Guru Dinataya Hare Krishna. So this chapter is very interesting actually, and the title of this chapter is the chanting this song sung by Lord Shiva. Essentially, this chapter presents the Rudra Gita. So there are many important Vaishnava appears in this particular chapter. So it's now 8:10. So around 20 minutes, first 20 minutes, I will try to give the bigger picture or the context, what's happening here. Then I will try to discuss the learning points from this particular shloka. So, as you see in this chapter, essentially, Vidura, he is asking some questions to Maitreya Muni. So, let us discuss the background of Vidur and then Maitreya Muni. And then here, the Prochetas, they are being, the Shiva is showing mercy to the Prochetas. So first, I would like to discuss who is Vidura essentially. So Vidura is essentially, the incarnation of Yamaraj. So once upon a time, there was a Muni whose name was Manduka Muni. And in Manduka Muni's ashram, some miscreants, they hide themselves in Manduka Muni's ashram. So when the police constables came to Manduka Muni's ashram, they also take the Manduka Muni himself to the court of that king, and it was decided that Manduka Muni will be punished by a sharp arrow piercing through his body, through the head. Then Manduka Muni is thinking, what is happening? I didn't do anything, but the king is giving me punishment. Then he thought that this is essentially done by Yamaraj. Then he immediately went to the Yamaloka and he asked Yamaraj, why you did this thing? Why I was so much stressed? And finally, the king understand that he's very saintly person. So they didn't do anything to that Manduka Muni, but he was very much stressed because he was about to die. So then he asked Yamaraj, why you have given me in such a stressful situation? Then Yamaraj said that Manduka Muni, Prabhuji, you have done some mistake. You killed an ant when you were a small boy. Therefore, you are in such a situation. Then Manduka Muni said, "Oh no! I was very much ignorant. I was a very small boy. This is not this is not a right judgment by yourself." Then he cursed. The Manduka Muni cursed the Yamaraj that you will be born as a Shudra and you have to be there for 100 years. Then this Yamaraj, he born as Vidura. Okay, so he born as a son of maidservant. And then we know that he approached Uddhava to get eliminated. But Uddhava said, please go to Maitreya Muni. So what is happening here? Vidura is asking questions to Maitreya Muni. So how Maitreya Muni has come into this scene? Because first Vidura approached Uddhava, so please illuminate me. But he said, no, you are a senior devotee. I cannot instruct you. It is Vaishnav long gone. I mean, the rules can be, omitted or something. So then he requested him to go to Maitreya Muni. So when Krishna instructed Maitreya Muni, when Krishna instructed the Uddhava, Maitreya Muni was also present at that particular point. So Maitreya Muni is also understand all the teachings from Krishna. So now you understand the background of Vidura and Maitreya Muni. So they are having conversation. Okay, and then here in this chapter, Vidura is asking two questions to Maitreya Muni. Vidura is asking two questions. Please remember that Vidura was first time he was a Yamaraj, incarnation of Yamaraj. He is asking question to Maitreya Muni. So first question was, how did Prachetas they get the Prachetas they get the divine darshan of Lord Shiva? So that was the first questions, and what was happening there. So these were the two questions that was being answered in this particular chapter. And Shiva, sometime we misunderstand him, and devotees have a lot of confusion. Who is Shiva? So in this chapter, we understand that Shiva is a very exalted devotee of Krishna. Okay. So if you check the process of creation, what happened there? The first Krishna, he expanded himself as Balaram, and then Balaram, the first Chaturbhuja came, right? What are the first Chaturbhuja? Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and they are also known as the Ram, Lakshman, and the other brothers. And then from there comes actually the Narayan, and then again there comes another Chaturbhuja. And so Shivji, what he is doing, he before giving instruction to these Prachetas, he is essentially praying to all these Chaturbhuja. So the Chaturbhuja, they are essentially called Antakaranas. So before we approach to some exalted devotees, we explain about Krishna, we do Mangalacharan, right? Or when we explain about some Prabhupada or other acharyas, we do Mangalacharan because we seek their blessings. So similarly, when Shiva was explaining, explaining this very esoteric learning to the Prachetas, he was essentially doing similar Mangalacharan, and he was praying to all. He was praying to the these four Antakaranas. So Vasudev, he was praying to clear his consciousness, and then Sankarshan, he is essentially the representative of false ego. So he was asking that, oh Lord Shankarshan, please remove all the false ego I have. And then Pradyumna, he is the representative of intelligence, and similarly Anuruddha is he is the presentation of mind. So similarly, when he was discussing this Rudra Gita, like all the Vaishnavas, please see that he was also doing this Mangalacharan. He was also praying to this all Chaturvas to purify himself. Essentially, that's teaching us that when we approach or when we when we discuss something about God, we should pray to our previous acharyas or the exalted personalities. So that's another point. Essentially, we can learn from here. So just very within 2 minutes, I'll discuss about the Shiva. So Shiva, essentially, the Vishnu, he has, or Krishna, essentially, Krishna has 64 qualities, and all the Narayanas, they have 60 qualities, and this Shiva, he has 55 qualities. But that 55 qualities maybe in the full form. But as a Jiva, we do not have the full quantity, but we have around 50 qualities. So the 5 very special quality that Shiva have is that he eternally situated in his own form all the time, and he is omniscient, and he is eternally youthful, and he is Satchidananda, and he is master of the all Siddhas. So we can understand the position of Shiva also in this chapter. So sometimes devotees fight that Shiva is the ultimate. Some people say Krishna is ultimate, absolute truth. But in this chapter we can see that Shiva himself, he is praying to Krishna. And so we can understand the position of Shiva. So what is the position of Shiva in the start of creation? If you see, as I just mentioned, that Krishna, and then Balaram, then first Chaturvya, then Narayan, then second Chaturvya, and then this 3 Purusha avatar. And then comes Shiva, right? The Shiva is one of the 3 Guna avatars, right? So Shiva is in charge of mode of passion. Sorry, ignorance. Why ignorance? So why he is ignorance? Is he in ignorance? Not really. Because we know there are many, people are in jail, but the jailer, he is not the consciousness of the miscreants, isn't it? The person who is in charge of the jail, he is not in the consciousness of the thief or the miscreants. Similarly, the Shiva, he is in charge of mode of ignorance, but that does not mean Shiva is in ignorance. So, and he is doing tremendous service to God, if you see, because. So let's discuss just 1 minute. What is Shiva's service during the desolation? Or so Shiva's service is destroying this material world. This is a very important service. Why is that important service? Because if we know that we stay here for long, we don't have to die, and there is no desolation of this material world, then we'll think, oh, then this material world is also like the spiritual world. Then why have to do all this sadhana and everything, right? So Shiva is destroying. So that essentially reminds us that this place is not for permanent things. So we have to pray to Krishna and go back to God. This is very, very temporary world. So Shiva essentially doing that service. Isn't that interesting? What a wonderful service he is doing. He is destroying, and also when we see that in the Canto 2, when we see that this world, when it was creating. Am I going to very technical terms? Are you comfortable, everyone? So is it okay, Mataji? Prabhus? Okay. So in the second chapter, when you see the creation, so Mahavishnu, he was glancing upon the Prakriti, and it becomes Pradhan, right? And Pradhan, and then it becomes Mahatattva when the mode of goodness was active, and then it becomes Shutra Tattva when the mode of passion was active, and then it becomes Ahankara Tattva. So if you see this creation in the Canto 2, they wonderfully explained by Sukadeva Goswami. Here also we can see the Shiva, he plays a very important role there as well. What was his role? He was essentially progeniting with the Devi Durga, because so in that sense Shiva is essentially the father of us, because Shiva, with the help of the Prakriti or Devi Durga, he created the living beings. So by his activity, this living entities was created. So I was actually trying to explain the position of Shiva. He is essentially a very, very humble servant of Krishna, and he is explaining. And when you go the end of this chapter, this is a very, very wonderful chapter. This is Rudra Gita. Okay, so when you go in this sloka also, wonderfully he is presenting his consciousness as a pure devotee of Lord. So, and next comes to the Prachetas. So Shiva is telling this shloka to whom? Pracheta. Okay, so in this chapter we see that Shiva is giving instructions to the Prachetas. Who is Pracheta? So Pracheta, if you go to the root, actually they are descendants. Jai Jai Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki Jai. So if you see that the Prachetas, their root, actually they are descendant of Prithu Maharaj. And from Prithu Maharaj's lineage came the Prachin Varhi Parishad. And Prachin Varishats, he had 10 sons. And these 10 sons, essentially they are called Prachetas. And Prachin Varishad, he thought, okay, let me send my sons to the, the ban, what do you call it in English, jungle or something like that. So he sent his sons to the jungle for meditation. Why so? Why Prachin Varishad, he is sending his sons for the jungle? Because this is because that time, there here also we have a very, very, very significant learning actually. He is sending his sons to the, what is the good name of jungle? How can I say that, Prabhu, in English? Huh? Forest, yeah, very good. So in forest he sends them to the forest. Why that? Why is that? He's a king and he has just 10 sons, but he's sending to the forest. And they are inside the lake and they are praying, and suddenly Lord Shiva appeared. Right? So very interesting. If you see, so the main point that Prachin Varishad, he was a very great king, and he wanted that I don't want my sons to be indulged in sense gratification. You understand? So he sent his sons to the forest so that they can control their senses. Isn't it a great thing? So we send our kids to maybe Gurukul or some other secluded place. Why? Because we want that our next generation, they can control their senses. That's very important, right? So if we cannot control our senses, we cannot be steady in our sadhana bhakti, right? So as a father, Prachin Varishad, he thought, okay, let me send my sons to the forest, and they can do the austerity for 10,000 years, and they can become, fixed in the devotional service. And then the sons of Prachin Varishad, they went to the lake and they were praying. And Lord Shiva is Ashutosh. He's Ashutosh. So immediately, Lord Shiva become very much merciful to these Prachetas. These Prachetas are nothing but they are 10 sons of the Prachin Varishad. Now, do you get the big picture? So I'll just quickly summarize. First, we discussed Vidura. So first incident is Lord Shiva is discussing with the Prachetas. But this incident was asked by Vidura. He is asking to Maitreya Muni. So what happened there and what benediction they get? So first scene is Vidura is discussing with Maitreya Muni, and here what's happening? Lord Shiva is discussing with whom? Prachetas, right? So two parallel conversation is going on here. Okay. So let's now we understand the context, the bigger context. Now let's dive into the this shloka. Excellent. This shloka is becomes my very favorite essentially. So here you can see in this shloka, Uh, okay, before that, I will give you some more context so it is easy to understand. So if you see this chapter, the breakdown of this chapter, so first you will see I just discussed the descendants of Prithu Maharaj. So that part is discussed at the beginning of this chapter, and then the Prachetas meet Lord Shiva, and then essentially the Rudra Gita started. So Shiva, he becomes very, very merciful to the Prachetas, and he started speaking this Rudra Gita. So today our slok number is 44. Before that, 33 to 43, essentially what was happening, Shiva was doing the Mangalacharan. Okay? So today our shloka is 44, right? So 33 to 43, this 10 sloka, Shiva did the Mangalacharan, and he prayed to all the deities like the Chaturvas and all the other deities like Surya, Soma, and every other deities or devotas, just to purify himself. And then after that he started speaking this shloka. So this shloka is the starting of the next section. So today we started from 44, right? So 44, from 44 to 53, this chapter goes like seeing and serving the Lord's glorious form. So now Shiva started the discussions with the Prachetas. Okay? So first, though it is the middle of the chapter, but this is the beginning of the next section where Shiva is explaining his deep love for the very personal form of Krishna. Okay, so let's go forward. So in this shloka, my personal word in this shloka, please see, if you have the shloka, access of the shloka, please check again the shloka. Please again check the shloka, and you can understand Shiva, what a wonderful devotee he is actually, essentially. So he is saying, the second line is my most favorite. Second line, he is saying that Dehi Bhagavata Orchitam. Dehi Bhagavata Orchitam. Okay? So Shiva is saying, oh Krishna, I want to see the form which is appreciated by your pure devotees. Okay? So Shiva is praying to Krishna that, oh Krishna, kindly bless me with your form that is appreciated by your pure devotees. So we can understand that Shiva is not interested in Brahman or Paramatma. He is interested in the Bhagavan aspect. So again, we can understand he was in pure goodness, and he is a pure devotee, and his mood we can easily understand from this shloka. So at the present moment, I am talking about myself. If I see the deity of Radha Gopinath, because I am a rascal and I have no love for Krishna, so it does not appear to be spiritual. I just see maybe a form, but it does not make any connection with my heart. Why this is happening? Because in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu it is mentioned that Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grajyam indriya. By our these senses, we cannot see Krishna, because our sense, this is a material sense. So how can we essentially make a spiritual connections with the deity? That is Shivan Mukha hi jivado shameva isfurada. So if we sincerely serve the devotees and the deities, then only we can make a spiritual connection. Otherwise, what people are doing, my Shiksha Guru was telling that in Mayapur, every people go to see the deity just opening the iPhone. So that is the electronic view. You cannot make any connection with that. You are here for a couple of seconds to try to make a connection with the deity. But what people are doing, that they are visiting Mayapur and they are taking selfies and they are taking photos. So essentially by doing that, it is impossible to make any connection because our senses are materials. If we can serve the pure devotees, then by their mercy, sometime maybe we will be able to make some connection and see Krishna's real form. And in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is also mentioned that Sarva Upadhi Vinirmuktam. Now, I am talking about myself. I have so much upadhi. I am a researcher, I am a scientist, I am a PhD, I live in a very good country. So much false ego I have. So, I cannot see Krishna until and unless I am free from all the false ego. So, these things are essentially important if we really, and we should be prayerful, like Lord Shiva. He is praying to Krishna. Krishna, please show me the most blissful form. So, in Bhagavad Gita, it is we can see it is mentioned that Jai Jathamam Prapadyate Tam Tathaistava Bhajami Aham. So Krishna has mentioned that I appear as per the dedication the devotee have. I will give you
examples so we can understand or discuss it more. In 10th canto, I think chapter 43, Krishna was going to have a wrestling match with the Chanar and Mushtika, right? So this shloka, because we are not able to see Krishna's form actually, and different people, according to their inclination, they see Krishna differently. Okay, so that's what I mentioned. I just mentioned that Je Jathamam Prapadyante Tam Tathastava Bhajamyaham. According to our inclination, we can see Krishna. So, in that particular chapter, Canto 10, chapter 43, it is mentioned that when the wrestlers was fighting, it was like a huge, huge like a stadium, and people were gathering just to see the wrestling match between Krishna, Balaram, and Chanur and Mustika. So the Chanur and Mustika, they were seeing Krishna as a lightning bolt, thunderbolt like that. Oh my God, this is like very dangerous. And the Mathura-bashi, they were seeing Krishna as the best of the males. So now see, Krishna is presented there, is Divu's form, but different people are seeing Krishna differently. So that is the point, okay? So the Mathura-bashi, they were seeing Krishna as the best of the men, and the Matajis who was presented there, they were seeing Krishna the best among the cupids. So their vision is different, okay? And then Krishna's parents, they were seeing Krishna as their child. And the people who were unintelligent, they were thinking like maybe this is Krishna's Virat Rupa or something, in universal form. And the yogis presented there, they thought maybe this is an absolute form of Krishna. And the Brishnis, the Brishni Bashi, the Brishni descendant, they are also present there, and they were saying Krishna as a worshipable deity. So this is the thing. So the inclination we have, we can see Krishna accordingly. So until and unless, so Shiva essentially is giving the solution. So first he is praying that, oh Krishna, please show your most merciful form. And in this conversation, at the end of this conversation, like around sloka 53, Shiva will give the conclusion, like how essentially we can see that Krishna's most merciful form. So people are inclined, actually, most peoples, they are inclined to Brahman form, Brahman effulgence. Many people in the Indian subcontinent and in the world, they are inclined to Krishna's Brahman effulgence. I will give you a very crisp example from the Shastra. Everyone Madhavendra Puri Pad. Do you know Madhavendra Puri? Madhavendra Puri, Prabhus? So Madhavendra Puri had many disciples. Okay, one of the disciples was Ramachandra Puri, and this Ramachandra Puri, he was inclined to this Brahman effulgence. See, you never know, Prabhu, who devotee is, what is his consciousness and how he is thinking about. So this Ramachandra Puri, he was Madhavendra Puripad, he was about to leave the material world. Okay, and that point of time, the disciples, they're supposed to increase the rashas between the devotee and Krishna, right? So they should play some, some devotional songs or something, so that the Mahatma, he's leaving this world, his rasha can be more intense. But this Ramachandra Puri, he was mentioning this sloka. Very interesting. Just have a look, like how devotees, they different people, they think of differently. So he's telling to his Gurudev, Ramachandra Puri, he is telling to his Gurudev, তুমি পূর্ণ ব্রহ্মানন্দ করহ শরণ, ব্রহ্মবিদ হইয়া কেন করহ রোদন। তুমি পূর্ণ ব্রহ্মানন্দ করহ শরণ, ব্রহ্মবিদ হইয়া কেন করহ রোদন। I am translating. If you were full transcendental bliss, he said, you should now remember only Brahman. So the disciple, he is instructing his Gurudev that why Gurudev you are crying, you should think about Brahman. What a rascal statement. And then the next shloka, Madhavendra Puri is reacting to this. Okay, and Madhavendra Puripad, he is saying, শুনি মাধবেন্দ্র মনে ক্রোধ উপজিল, দূর দূর পাপিষ্ঠ বলে ভর্ৎসনা করিল। শুনি মাধবেন্দ্র মনে ক্রোধ উপাজিল, দূর দূর পাপিষ্ঠ বলে ভর্ৎসনা করিল। So Madhavendra Puri, he is responding. Hearing the instruction, Madhavendra Puri, greatly angry, rebuked him, asking, get out, you sinful rascal. Okay. So this happens actually because you see, like Madhavendra Puri is such a exalted Vaishnava and our Acharya. His disciple, he is instructing his Gurudev about focusing or making some yoga meditation on the Brahman aspect. So yes, so actually Jai Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan Ki Jai. So essentially we can understand Prabhu here, the many people, they have different thought process, and Srila Prabhupada, while describing this Brahman and Paramatma and Bhagavan, so please understand these three aspects. First is Brahman, and this Brahman effulgence, who is getting attracted to this Brahman effulgence? The people who mainly study the Upanishads, they essentially are inclined to this Brahman aspect. And the people who are inclined to the meditation, okay, so yoga meditation, they are inclined to this Brahman aspect. And the devotees, they are only inclined to this Bhagavan aspect. You see, right? So in Paramatma, Krishna is very, very neutral. Because when you do something, for example, now you are thinking, I will go to a vegetarian restaurant, it does not matter whether it contains garlic, I don't care, I will eat. Krishna will not say anything, because you are not inclined that much to Krishna. So Krishna also does not, for example, even if you are devotee, sometimes some rubbish mentality may appear to us sometime, but Krishna may not say anything. And some miscreants, they are killing people, right? But Paramatma is just witnessing. Is Paramatma saying anything? Many people are doing many mischievous activities, isn't it, Prabhu? But Paramatma is doing nothing, because he is just witness. He is not. But as Bhagavan, Krishna does communicate with the devotees. Can we refer any reference from the Shastra where Krishna interacting with the devotees as Bhagavan feature? Because Paramatma, he will not interact with the devotees. He will just witness and just remain there and see. But Bhagavan, he will not do that. Where can we find such any references coming to your mind? Yes, Prabhu. Okay, so he's interacting with that, yeah. So, yeah, and if you see the Chatushlaki Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that I will illuminate from the within. What is the shlok? 10.11. Anyone remember? 10.11. Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying that Jnana Dipana Bhashyata, right? So I will illuminate from your heart. So Krishna, essentially, if you follow the footsteps of the pure devotees, then Krishna will take charge. Srila Prabhupada is the greatest example. You see, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna did everything. So, right? Srila Prabhupada was having a heart attack in the Pacific Ocean. And the Arun Pandya, the master of that ship, he said, I never seen Pacific Ocean so calm. So who arranged that? Krishna, isn't it? So for pure devotees, Krishna always interact. So we can understand. So finally, after saying all of this, the conclusion is that Shiva, essentially, after the end of this section, he will mention that, oh Krishna, I beg your blessings. Please give me the association of your pure devotees. So the conclusion, so first he is praying to Krishna. So Krishna, please show me your form. And he is also giving the conclusion. How can we see this Krishna's real form, like with a special connection? That only if we can associate Premi Bhakta, if we can associate very exalted pure devotees, then only essentially we can get this anjan, because Brahma Samhita is mentioned that Premanjana Charita, right? So we need that Prem Kajal. By this, your material eyes, you cannot make any connection. What do you need, Prabhu? You need something in eyes. What is that? Premanjan. So that Premanjan, how can we get that Premanjan? The person who has this Premanjan, he essentially can give me this Premanjan. So the conclusion is, if we serve the pure devotees who have Premanjan, he essentially can give me Premanjan, and that with that Premanjan, I can witness Krishna's form. Otherwise, it is not possible. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami Pad, he is mentioning that, my dear friend, if you still have any desire to, so Rupa Goswami Pad mentioning, dear devotees, if you have any inclination to enjoy this material world, please don't look at this bluish eye Krishna. Rupa Goswami Pad is saying, if you have any inclination, if you want to enjoy this material world, if you want to play with the material energy, please don't look at him. If you develop that Premanjan, and if you have that eyes, then your propensity for the material, enjoyment will be vanquished, and you will lost everything. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.239, I'm just reading the translation for your reference. My dear friend, if you still have any desire to accompany your friends, family, then surely do not go to Keshighat to see the form of Govinda, who is standing there in three-curved posture, casting sidelong glances, with his lips placed on his flute, a wearing peacock feather on his head. Rupa Goswami Pad is saying that essentially what it means, if until and unless we have an inclination to enjoy this material world, then we cannot make any connection. It's impossible. Until and unless we want to enjoy this material world, you are disqualified. Okay, so if we want to make this genuine connection, we should go to the pure devotees who is always Krishna conscious, who has this Premanjan. And if I beg him, if I serve him, if I cry for Krishna, then that Mahatma will give us the Premanjan, and with that Premanjan we will be able to see Krishna, as Lord Shiva is explaining here. So with that, Prabhu, I'd like to end here. So I'm just summarizing what I have discussed today. So first, we discussed today who is Vidura. So Vidura was essentially incarnation of whom, Prabhu? Jamaraj. Jamaraj, he offended. Jamaraj offended some Mundaka Muni, and Mundaka Muni cursed him that you have to be a Shudra for 100 years. Okay? So then Vidura get this condition. But one another thing, Prabhu, I'll tell here. You see, this Jamaraj, he is one of the 12 Mahajanas or not? He's one of the 12 Mahajanas, right? So please understand, Prabhu, this Yamaraj, he is such an exalted devotee, he is one of the Mahajans. And he does not get any opportunity to hear Krishna Katha there. Because in Yamalok, he is always busy with punishing the demons, right? So he has no chance to hear Krishna Katha. Then, actually, it's a Krishna's divine plan. So what Krishna did? Krishna make this offense. And he said, okay, you have to go to Maitreya Muni and hear Krishna Katha, okay? He is giving some day off to Yamaraj. You understand the Krishna's divine plan? So Krishna making the divine plan, and Vidura, Yamaraj offended some Muni, and Muni he cursed Yamaraj, and he becomes Vidura. But another point, Prabhu. Even though Vidura is a pure devotee, he had to wait such a long time. At the end of his time, like maybe around 95 years or 100 years, he had to wait for this Krishna Katha, hearing Krishna Katha from whom? Maitreya Muni, right? So please understand, Prabhu, hearing Krishna Katha with the devotee association, like we are doing by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, it is not at all an ordinary thing. Even a Yamaraj, he is a member of this 12 Mahajana. He had to wait 100 years just to hear this 2 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. Can you understand? So if such an exalted person, he had to wait for 100 years to hear this, because Maitreya Muni and Vidura, this Sambad contains 2 full chapters, okay? And to hear that, he had to wait 100 years. But with Srila Prabhupada's mercy and our Guru Gauranga's mercy, our Acharya's mercy, we are able to hear this Krishna Katha every day. So please understand the position of us, how wonderful we are. I mean, how, fortunate we are, but we are wasting that good fortune. Right? Wonderful opportunity we have, Prabhu. But are we wasting or not? Are we wasting? Because you see, Vidur Maharaj had to wait for 100 years to get this mercy. But I am talking about myself, Prabhu. You all are Mahatmas. I am just wasting my human form of life. What is the purpose of us to be here? Sangshare Ainu, Krishna Bhojibar Tare, Sangshare Ainu. We have no other purpose, only to serve Krishna and his devotees. Krishna Bhojibar Tare, Sangshare Ainu. Okay? So please understand the life story of Vidur. And then we discussed Maitreya Muni. He got instructed from Krishna also. And then we discussed about Prachetas. Prachetas are the descendants of essentially Prithu Maharaj, then Prachin Varishat, and from Prachin Varishat's sons is this Prachetas. And Prachin Varishat, he sent his sons to the forest. Why? Because our sense is always like, I want to enjoy. Bhogadrishti. Even Prasad coming, I am seeing, this is a plate of bhoga. Yes, I have to enjoy, isn't it, Prabhu? But if you see Srila Prabhupada, he was honoring Prasad. He is sitting in a place and very much, very slowly, he is offering. But what I am doing, when a opulent Prasad plate is coming, oh, yes, this is a plate of bhog. Right, Prabhu? So this is the, difference in our vision. Srila Prabhupada, he used to honor Prasad. But me, I used to enjoy. I used to bhog. This is a, bhoga element for me. So anyway, so we understand the Prachetas, their background, and then we can understand the Shiva's position. This, if you see again the Krishna, then Balaram, then first Chaturvya, and then from Sankarshan coming Narayan, then coming second Chaturvya, then 3 Purusha Avatar, and then the Guna Avatar. So if you see the hierarchy, so Shiva is in Guna Avatar stage, and his service is to destroy. And that destruction is a wonderful service, because if we know that, okay, I can 3 kind of destruction can happen every time our body is destroying, isn't it? And after 1 day of Brahma, it will be destroyed. and after 100 years of Brahma, it will be again destroyed. So we are continuous destruction. Okay, and Shiva is in charge. So if our body didn't get distracted, so now I feel, oh, I got a shortchange on the body, so let me enjoy. Okay, so Shiva is in charge of distraction, and that essentially reminds us that this is a permanent, not impermanent place, non-permanent place. I have to go back to Krishna. So Shiva is doing a wonderful service, and we also understand that Shiva, he is a pure devotee of God, because when he was talking about Krishna, he was essentially praying to exalted personalities, this expansion of Krishna, and he was begging mercy. He was saying, please wash all of my false ego and bad intelligence. And after that, he, since he's Ashutosh, he discussed the very esoteric teachings about Krishna to the Prashatas, and that way Prashata, they also get illuminated. And of course, so if you see, if we also follow the paths of these Prashatas, they went to the forest. Why? Because they wanted to limit their enjoyment propensity. So similarly, if we also follow this similar path, then some devotee, Krishna will expand himself as a pure devotee, and he will send it to you. So first, what do we have to do? We have to follow the footsteps of these prachatas. We have to control our senses, our mind, our ego, everything. And if we can do, if I can become a humble, then I can get the merciful glance of a Mahatma. He will think, okay, this devotee is very nice, he is very humble, he can restrict his senses, I am supposed to give him instruction, as Shiva did to Prachatas. Okay, so let us all, especially myself, let me follow, I beg all of your mercy, let me follow the footsteps of these Prachatas, so that I can have the Kripa Katakho, or the merciful glance of pure devotees. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. Hare Krishna. If you have any comments or corrections, I have no quality, as I said. I am just here because of my seniors' order or instruction. If you have any corrections, Prabhu, I would appreciate, or any comments. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Okay. So, yes, Prabhu. So, your questions is Paramatma thing. Okay. So, in Canto 2, Prabhu, it is Shukadev Goswami has, you have wonderful questions like how yogis, they interact with Paramatma and what happens to them. Essentially, this is very, very wonderfully discussed in Canto 2, Chapter 4 and 5. Okay, so there it is discussed that the Ashtanga yogi, they essentially have 8 stages: Jam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. Okay, so when the first 4 stage is like a preliminary stage, and when you come to Dharana or Dhyana, so then it is actually divided again. The Ashtanga yogi, after the first 4 steps, they divided into two distinct classifications. The first classification is the Ashtanga yogi who is still very much attached to the material worlds. So they follow the karma mukti stage. Okay, so they very gradually they go to Swargalok and Gyanalok, Tapalok, Maharlok, and finally from there they enter into the effulgence. Okay, after this material realm. Okay, so that is their path. So I am talking about the first sections of the Ashtanga yogi who have so much inclination to enjoy this material world. So they follow the process of karma mukti. So gradually they, and you see here, Krishna is not doing any personal interaction. So very, very long process, Prabhu. It will take million, billion, trillions of years just to travel like this, just one step by one step. So that is karma mukti. But the devotee who can actually, essentially, who has no material connections or material inclination to enjoy, they can directly focus. They can go to this dharana and dhyan and samadhi to Paramatma, and then essentially they can merge into that. So you see, there it's like a one-way journey. Nobody is guiding you, nobody is doing, and you have to wait for so many many years or birth times. So Paramatma, that's why our acharyas, they do not recommend that you follow Ashtanga Yoga. Even you see Krishna, if you see the chapter 6 from Bhagavad Gita, it is, what is the title? Chapter 6. Dhyana Yoga, right? But what is the conclusion of Dhyana Yoga? If you see 6.47. What is 6.47 sloka? Please check, Prabhu. The conclusion of Krishna in Joginam opi sarvasam adgateno atma manahad. And what is the next line? Chodhabhanu bhajote jomam same yukta tamo mataha. So you see, Krishna is saying, the Shraddhavan, who is always connected to me, he is the best. So after explaining all sorts of Ashtanga Yoga, Krishna is concluding that no, Ashtanga I don't recommend. I recommend what? I recommend Bhakti Yoga. And that is essentially the seed verse. If you see Bhagavad Gita 6.47, that is essentially the seed verse of this next 6th chapter, that is Bhakti Yoga. Okay, so from 7 to 12, we call it Bhakti Yoga, right? And before that, Karma Yoga, and this last is Jnana Yoga, right? So that you can see that in Paramatma features, Krishna essentially, he will not interact. You have to go one-way process, and it takes so many years, so many lifetimes, so many trillions of years. Therefore, our acharyas, they do not recommend to worship these Paramatma features and our Brahman effulgence. So therefore, we have to simply follow our previous acharyas and do not speculate. And sometimes I see many devotees, they are inclined to study so many literatures. But I learned from my Shiksha Guru that he mentioned that Bhakti Siddha Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he mentioned that if we study so many literatures, then there is chance that you get confused. Okay, and if you have so much knowledge, then maybe there is a high chance that you are confused. So our Acharya Srila Prabhupada, the books he suggested, we just study this, and we can, if we serve them, our Guru and Gaurangas, then we can perfect our life. Thank you, Prabhu, for your wonderful questions. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Can you ask again, Prabhu? Your question?
It seems a bit contradictory that on the one hand, Lord Shiva is provided, quickly satisfied, appears to be difficult, but then on the other hand, it's very exceptionally rare that it seems.
For Vidura, you mean?
No, for anyone. But Vidura is.
I see. Yeah. So for first example is Vidura. Essentially, Krishna's pastime or his lila, Prabhu, is inconceivable. For example, if an ant comes to you, he will not understand activities of you. Okay? If ant at Pipra, in Bengali call it Pipra, and an ant or Pipra, he cannot understand myself. Similarly, with my small brain, Krishna's pastimes, I cannot always understand that. So this particular Vidura's case, essentially this is stretching that, hey, it is not so easy to get access to Srimad Bhagavatam, get access to devotee association. So please don't waste your time. And the Shiva's pastime, what is the learning from here? That if we can control ourselves, if we can remain humble, then some devotee will guide us, Prabhu. So actually everything is, I would say, like this is a teachings from pure devotees and Krishna. And by that actually we have to learn this way, Prabhu. That is my understanding. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So I will end here. Manchakalputur. Oh, Mataji, you have a question. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, so Mataji's questions is like we should follow the pure devotees and serve them, then only we can get Premanjana. But her grace mentioned that if we see the pastimes of Ramachandra Puri, then he was deviated. So how can we safeguard ourselves? So the first point, Mataji, is this Ramachandra Puri, my understanding, maybe he studied so many literatures, not following his guru's order, and therefore he was confused and he thought that this Brahman effulgence may be the absolute truth. Okay, so first thing is to become humble. So that is the first quality. If we are humble, and if we have Guru Nishtha, as you mentioned, and if we are not over smart, sometimes we try to, there are some devotee who become Guru Drohi. Okay, instead of become Guru Nishtha, they become Guru Drohi. They think, what is the big thing about my Guru? I am much smarter than him, so I should have taken his position. So, first thing is understand that I have very limited time, and from Bhagavatam we can see that Parikshit Maharaj had only 7 days, but I don't know. That's what Mataji. I remember this chapter, Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, sloka 5. What is the sloka 5? Chapter 8.5. Anyone remember? Antakale cha mameva saranamukta kale baram japrayati samadbhavam jatinati asra shamshaya. So, devotees may think, so I will be like Ajamil and think of Krishna at the time of day. But again, Krishna understand the people are very wicked. So, I will give better conclusion. Then 8.7, Prabhu, please find. Tashmat kaleshu sarveshu mam anusharo juddhacha. So here Krishna is saying, no, not like you have to think in Antakal like Ajamil and you become a Guru Drohi. You have to always, what is the shloka I just mentioned, Prabhu? Tashmat kaleshu sarveshu. He is mentioning Tashmat, Ataev. Tashmat means when the Tashmat form, this word is coming, we have to understand very important conclusion is coming. Okay? So Krishna is saying Tashmat. Tashmat must mean therefore. When we say therefore means some conclusion is coming. Okay? So Krishna is saying Tashmat and then he is saying Sarveshu Kaleshu Ma Manushmara. So Mataji, so if we don't become a Guru Drohi, so the principle should be always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, and remain humble and serve our spiritual masters. If we can do that, then maybe we can restrict ourselves from being this Ramachandra Puri. So, Tashmat, Kalishu, Sarveshu, Mam, Anushmara, Juddhacha. So that is why this concept is coming, right? They always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna, become humble and have faith on your Guru and follow his instruction. And if we can do so, then we can become Ishwar Puripad. What Ishwar Puripad did? By his Guru's mercy, he became the Guru of the God. You see, Ishwar Puripad, he was serving very humbly to his Guru. And what happened? You see, just by Guru's mercy, Ishwar Puripad became the spiritual master of God, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this rascal, he is outsmarting his Guru. And what happened to him? He was just abandoned by his Guru. So, if we just follow this principle, Tashmat Kalashu Sarveshu, Ma Manmushmara, then we can become like Ishwar Puripad. So, by Guru's mercy, he become the special master of God. So how, so Guru's mercy is it's like without their mercy we are just nothing. We are just nothing. If they if they divert their merciful glance upon us, I cannot think my existence. If my Guru is, that's why we say, Jasya prasada bhagavat prasada Jasya aprasadat nagati kutopi. So if Guru is satisfied, Jasya prasad bhagavat prasad, Krishna prasad will come. But if he is aprasad, if he's become, if he abandoned us from his merciful glance, we have no goti. Jasya aprasad no goti kuto hopi. No goti. Thank you so much, Mataji. I think it's helpful. Hare Krishna. Manchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhuvaccha paritanang pavanam Vaishnavabhyo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hare. Hare Krishna.